Welcome to Digitized Spotlight, your lens into the best builders in consumer crypto. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Winnie. On this series, we explore some of the latest trends emerging in consumer crypto and chat with those building at the forefront. In this episode, we dig into the intersection of manufacturing, streetwear fashion, and token launchpads, and quite possibly the only company that exists in the Venn diagram of these three areas.
We chat with Jonathan, the founder of Dripster, a token launchpad built on Solana that reimagines how products are designed, funded, and brought to life. As you know, here in Digitized, we've been discussing the intersection of AI and crypto for some time, but today we chat about how it will unlock new design spaces for product creation and value distribution. Let's get started.
Hey, Jonathan, welcome to Digitized Spotlight.
Hey, Winnie, super happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Of course. Dripster is actually one of my favorite launchpads, and I'm excited to have you on today. So, for listeners who are unfamiliar with the product, it essentially marries the mechanics of token launchpads with a real AI studio and manufacturing network that enables users to produce the products they design. So I think Dripster's bespoke models are trained on specific SKUs and product sheets from the factories that they work with, which enables their users to easily manufacture goods once the drip is bonded. What I love about it is how it kind of combines the fun that we're having in this speculation and meme coin era and applies it to the commerce and manufacturing world. So Jonathan, we've known each other for quite some time now. It's been a pleasure to kind of have seen you and Justine, your co-founder, navigate this idea maze to get to what Dripster is today. Walk us through kind of the journey to get here. What inspired you to build at this intersection of like manufacturing, AI, and crypto?
Yeah, so I guess the story starts way back in like 2017 when I started to kind of play around with crypto. Back then, I was working in investment banking and I was kind of spending late night at the office and sometimes not that busy, but you need to stay out there. This is how I actually stumbled into crypto and started to really like play with it. After a few years, I knew that I wanted to kind of work more deeply into crypto, and that's when I transitioned to VC. Actually, I don't know if I had told you that story, but I had offers from like a few venture firms, and I actually chose YStar in part because they had a crypto fund. So that was kind of the one of the main reasons why I decided to go there. And at YStar, I worked with Thomas,
Yeah.
who you work with. Thomas was kind of working on the crypto side of things, so I made a bunch of deals with him, a bunch of very cool ones actually. And then afterward, pretty much at the same time where Thomas left to kind of reach Block Tower now, kind of Strobe, I left to start my kind of entrepreneurial journey, which was around 2022. Since then, it's been pretty much building apps, trying to kind of think about, appealing consumer value props, learning a lot and having, quite frankly, just a ton of fun as we were kind of going through all of that. So the first app that we created was like a pure crypto app back in 2022 called Lighthouse. It was a super fun one, which basically enabled people to search across a bunch of different virtual worlds and actually move between them by indexing like a lot of on-chain information. It was like super cool. Uh, and then the kind of bear market hit. It was harder to kind of sustain usage on that app. So we created a second app with pretty much kind of the same team, which looks in many ways pretty much like Dripster. So it was an app called Offscript, which you know super well. Offscript actually really picked up. So we had about 1 million users in the first year. And what Offscript was about was people uploading images of product that they created with the AI. So we really started to work on it at the same time as Midjourney kind of really popped up. And so people share concept of products, and if there's enough traction in the sense of likes and pre-orders, then we'll make those products actually come true. And so we had to go through with Upscript setting up the entire manufacturing infrastructure that goes behind the app, which was a ton of fun. It made me spend some time in China which you know super well. And yeah, we built Upscript and internally the team really felt kind of the real opportunity to expand what we've built with Upscript and put it back into crypto, kind of closing the loop and go back to our roots. We felt the token launchpad model was extremely well suited for everything that we've built. If you take kind of a step back and really abstract what Upscript was, it's a launch pad. It's a launch pad for ideas, and it's a launch pad that requires financing. So people need to finance their ideas to get them made. And crypto being the huge kind of settlement layer that it is, we felt was kind of actually extremely well suited for what we had built with Upscript. And so that's how Dripster came to be. We're a team that's extremely passionate about like building consumer products. We've been building at the frontier of AI since a pretty long time. I don't know if I actually told you that, but Justine, which you know super well, my co-founder, she first worked on Gen AI back in when she was at university. She studied actually at like Yoshua Bengio's institute called the Mila Institute, and she showed me her paper. And the first paper she made on Gen AI was a meme generator, how to create
Wow.
meme with Gen AI. But it's like super OG. It's
Yeah.
actually written in French. It's super
Yeah, that's
cool.
cool. I love to see
Yeah, very cool.
like full circle. One of my favorite
Yeah,
quotes like from Steve Jobs is like, the dots when they all connect at the very end, like you only know afterwards when they all connect. It's very cool to see how all that comes together, especially with memes
100%.
and kind of what you guys will do
100%.
today that I know we'll get into.
Yeah, yeah, it's super cool. When she showed me that, I was like cracking up. It's very cool.
Awesome. And then Dripster launched like a week ago, roughly. Like, what has been the feedback so far? I know a number of the products have, or like tokens have bonded. Kind of, can you give me kind of the state of play of
Yeah.
what's been happening
Uh,
so far?
Yeah, so we launched roughly like let's say 10 days ago. You're correct. A bunch of products bonded. A lot of kind of market value was created in a short amount of time, which is great to see. Um, the launch was like a real success according to kind of our standards, and I think there's a few reasons for that. Obviously, everything that falls within like the team and the work and the product and all of that. But also think we received like extraordinary support from the Solana Foundation and all that kind of crypto ecosystem. Everybody that kind of saw us build leading up until that launch really kind of came together to make the announcement, the splash we hope it would be. So the Solana Foundation, Winnie obviously and Strobe were kind of great supporters in that. And yeah, so far we've had about 90 coins created, which is great. Many of them have already bonded. We've already started the manufacturing process on some of them, which is also super cool to see kind of the loop being kind of closed. Uh, and something we might dive a little bit deeper onto that we're kind of very excited about is what we're doing around community upshare and also meme holder yield. So as we kind of come into that whole token launchpad world, we first bring something new in that the coins they have products behind them. So there's kind of an underlying tangible assets that somewhat supports the price action that we see. But we're also trying to come up with new design architecture to try to bring to that space stuff we think is actually cool. So we're always kind of, now building consumer apps for the last 3 years. We've learned like the rule number one of consumer app, which is you need to build something that's yourself, you find cool and you want to use. Like this is the
Yeah.
number one thing you need to use. If you think it's cool, it's already like a great start. And those two things we think are actually pretty cool. And so we just
Yeah.
like launch them. So we're shipping fast and it's cool. We're trying to iterate both on the product, but also on the dynamics, the design.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that you had launched with I don't know how to say it right, FWOG, FWOG maybe community.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you help me? It looked cool. Can you help me understand like what exactly
Yeah.
the partnership entails and what are the types of things that that community is creating?
So I guess the big thinking for us is crypto has a lot of amazing IP. Frog is one of them. So many memes are their own kind of IPs. Doge obviously being kind of a huge IP, PP, and but also NFTs, right? They're all huge IPs. You have like Doodles, which is kind of up there. Bungee Penguins. There's just like so many, many, many great IPs, and these IPs have been there for like more than 5 years, 7 years in many cases. But then when you look at what these IPs have actually done in terms of like cool physical products and just transferring that IP into actually stuff that people can wear in their everyday life, you just realize there hasn't been that much. I think Bored Ape were actually the best.
Yeah.
So they did like a pretty good job.
Artist,
Um,
I think, with kind of the shoes, they did a good job.
yeah, they were great. But many others, I think it's kind of an untapped opportunity, really. And the reason why is honestly to be good at manufacturing, it's a whole world in itself, right? You need connections with manufacturers, and you need to deal with like inventory forecasting and just it's just kind of a new team that you need to build to actually like be good with this. And so our view was, well, there's just like that huge amount of great IP and all these communities, they have thousands of holders that are extremely faithful, extremely proud of being associated with the memes they back or the NFTs they hold. And so our view was, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we created a native way, on-chain, enforceable way for every product launched on Dripster that incorporates the IP of a specific NFT community to actually give a kickback to that community. Like basically, every time somebody from the community creates a new product, the community gets richer. And so now you have basically NFTs that people own that give them, like a yield
Yeah.
or just like a dividend from the creativity of the community. And so how community Upshare work is basically people go on Dripster, they're going to create like a product, whatever. And then let's say that product includes, a frog on it, which is kind of a big meme. It's one we really like as a team, so we wanted to kind of go with it first. Now that creator can launch the coin. The coin will trade. If it reaches a specific market cap, it will be actually manufactured. But what will happen as well is 1% of the supply of the coin will go directly to Frog's treasury. So now Frog as a team, they hold that in their treasury, right? So it increases kind of the overall asset of the Frog team. But then every frog holder as well. So if you own some frog in your wallet, you can go on Dripster and you can claim an airdrop, a small airdrop, because someone kind of actually created that product for you. And for us, there's like two key elements to that. The first one is when you create an incentive for people from the frog community to come on Dripster and to go claim their kind of airdrop from that product, what you're doing is you're basically giving them exposure to that product, right? It's almost advertising. It's pretty cheap advertising. And if these people really like it, then most likely they're going to buy more of it. And that helps the creator in the first place, the creator of the token. So that's like layer number one. And then layer number two, it just creates that muscle memory of holders of like the biggest meme communities and NFT communities to just go on Dripster every once in a while to see if there's anything free to claim. And that's really kind of the goal we're trying to create. It's kind of an habit. You just come, every week, every 2 weeks to harvest, any fees you've had, and then you kind of see what's new in there. So there's a bunch of kind of, I guess, marketing rationale on just making sure the holders themselves can kind of get it. But overall, there's also like a desire on our side to create a very crypto native way to ensure that when people create with an IP, even though it's kind of an open IP, they give back to the community as well. And we think it's just like a virtuous loop to entertain and to build.
Yeah. I love that. I guess it's also helpful. You kind of touched upon off scripts manufacturing network that you built with Offscript and how that kind of applies to Dripster. Maybe it's helpful to hear from for everyone, like the manufacturers that you work with, how you kind of built those relationships with those factories and how that kind of enables Dripster to become what it is today. Because I think that piece is kind of missing, right? Like I think today
Yeah.
everyone trades these
Okay.
meme coins, even with Drip today, it's not very clear. Help the listeners contextualize what that entails, how it gets produced. If I make a FWOG, like
Yes.
iPhone case or a shoe, how does that actually work?
100%. I think we need to do like actually a better job at communicating that. So we'll improve, we'll improve. But uh, we have now a manufacturing network, as you said, of about 200 manufacturers, which are based across 4 continents. So some in Latin America, many actually in the US, in Canada, Europe, around Portugal. Is kind of pretty big. Obviously, in China, we have a lot of great manufacturers there. Uh, and in our manufacturing world, I think there's like 3 key components that really sets us apart. The first one, which we're kind of diving into now, is the manufacturing network. Just to be like extremely clear, and I don't think many if you've never built something in terms of physical products, this, is completely foreign to you. But there's a world of difference between a tier one manufacturer and a tier two, tier three manufacturer. It's the difference between getting to a product in two samples versus 10 samples, or just never getting there,
Yeah.
quite frankly. And the way to get in touch with the best manufacturers is actually through referrals. There's no way anybody with a small production will be able to work with a tier one manufacturer. Every individual creators, and they try to connect with them, even if you come up with 10,000 units as kind of a base volume, it's too little for them to actually start to do business with you. So you need those introductions. You need to be put in touch with them, and you need to actually go there, visit them in the country and talk to them. Kind of a very human thing, and they need to kind of buy into the vision. It really took us like a year and a half to build like that core manufacturing network that we built. But that's the first layer. And I think, I'm so not scared about anybody doing something like us because I know how hard it is and so how much time it actually takes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Today, if we were to even create like merch or like if I wanted to custom create anything, first of all, I wouldn't even know where to start, let alone find like a tier one manufacturer. And I feel like you have to hit a certain amount, from what I understand, of like
100%.
in order to even get that produced, right? So it's like
Yes,
in some ways, kind of dripsters underneath that manufacturing model kind of obfuscates all of that for communities and
exactly.
for users that use it.
Absolutely, Winnie, you're like 100% right. And you can do basic stuff. Like you can do t-shirts, but as soon as you move away from like the pre-made blank, this is when it becomes like very complicated. And obviously our goal is to like be that blank canvas for people to just go out and try to kind of create, right? So that's the first piece, right? The manufacturing network is really key, and this is something we've been working on for a long time. Then the second piece, which I think is kind of where honestly 90% of our IP resides, comes with how we're going from a design to a final product with a team now that's basically 7 people. More than half of them don't even touch products. Like they don't even touch physical products. So we've just like automated so much of it in the back end. So basically, when we receive an image that someone uploads, as you've said, first our model is post-trained to make sure that the renders that you see are close to something that can be manufactured. Doesn't need to be a blank, but it's actually more reasonable than what you would get with other kind of AI image generation model. Then we have another bot that goes through the image that's generated to tell you, hey, yes, this is manufacturable, or no, this is not manufacturable. Then we've automated a big part of the pipeline of going from that design into what we call like a tech pack, which is a manufacturer ready document that explains what we want them to achieve. Then we have our entire kind of database of manufacturers we work with. Easily we can map that product to the right manufacturers, and then we can get everything like sent out to them. Even for simple inspection, we can take pictures and get AI to kind of give us its perspective on like the improvement versus the base image. So we've just created so much IP in the back end to make things extremely efficient on like going from an image to final product that we can produce stuff really at scale. And I think Shein might be the
Yeah.
best company in the world with
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah,
They completely
100%.
like change Shane just completely like flip the model, right? Like now, from what it seems like they just like take runway ideas and they, what is it, like a few days, they can mass produce it in these quantities. And if it sells, they can just amp the quantity.
Yeah, exactly. This is what they do. They basically sell the images. They're not made yet, and then they produce it like extremely fast, and then they decide if they need to do kind of more of it. They're amazing. I mean, you can say a lot of like great and bad things about
Yeah,
Shein just in
yeah.
the way they operate. I'm just making like a purely technical statement on like the AI architecture that they have and the speed they've been able to kind of integrate with manufacturers to get products out. I'm just making a purely technical
Yes.
comment. Technically, they're doing like great. Anyway, so there's like that piece. The first piece is really kind of the network. The second piece is really kind of the end-to-end model we've created in the backend to be super efficient with that. And then the last one is obviously kind of the AI model that's kind of consumer facing, what people actually kind of interact with as they create their designs. So those are like the three key pieces, but for us they're like vital in providing our value prop. Yeah.
And taking a step back, can you talk a bit more about like who is the target creator consumer for Dripster and like how that compares to what you saw with Offscript?
Yeah, great question. Actually, the off-script core persona is like a world of difference with the Dripster core persona. It's actually even like impressive to see. Um, so Dripster Upscript, like the core persona was your Pinterest user. It was like women aged between like 20, 30, that love design. You go on their Instagram profile and it will be like beautiful. They'll post like often. And we go from people with like 5K followers to 500K followers. And there would be like people that are passionate about design. So what we saw is that the level of design, just visual appeal on Upscript was really off the chart. Like we had like some really 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 cool products and really really cool designs. Um, this side of the business, I guess, subscript, the creators were great. They tend to be, I guess, more financially cautious, obviously. So they wouldn't, for example, we have some of our drip coins right now, and we see people going like, $10,000 like at a time, like backing it because they think that drip coin is going to appreciate in value. So it's kind of a very different, I guess, dollar wise. The dollar flows are very different in terms of pace. But that's the core personnel on like the TypeScript side. When it comes to like the Dripster side, what we tend to see is a lot of people that have been really into NFTs, really into memes, really into crypto culture, crypto IP. So that's like the core persona that we see, and they're used to kind of interacting with the different platforms. I think many of them, I would say 90% of them own NFTs, 90% of them have used Pump in the past or Clanker or what
Yeah.
have you. So there, we already see it. We have like our Telegram that basically never sleeps, and they are very technical, like very savvy. I tend to share, some, I talk to them about the meme their yield, how I was kind of thinking
Yeah.
about it, and very thoughtful responses. I think we have like very healthy debate, intense debate, but healthy. Like it's nice to see there's like a lot of life
Yeah.
in that.
Love that. I think we obviously need to talk about last week with OpenAI's new image model that release and how
Mhm.
Sam Altman literally told everyone to chill out because the GPUs were
Mhm.
melting. Obviously it's a huge moment, and as someone who's building within AI, especially using their image models, can we kind of discuss what this means for Dripster? How does that like
Yeah.
either improve the products you create? Does it create more competitors that are going to enter this because the barrier to creating images is lower? But it sounds like that it's the manufacturing network that Dripster
Yeah.
has that kind of differentiates that. Yeah, walk me through how you guys are thinking within the company about this new image model.
So like the overall like conclusion is that it's super bullish. It's great. More people being able to create more cool design is great. For us, it did change a little bit the roadmap. Because we had the way we actually kind of operated until now was taking the best open source models we can find and post training these open source models. So we had like our own methods, our own approach there. Then using those models to actually power the image generation that people were actually doing. Uh, we were kind of this worked well with us because we could kind of turn the model to our own kind of sauce, if I may. But it was also something we had to do because you can't really like use an API to integrate with like Midjourney, which was until the GPT moment kind of the I guess best image generation model on the market. We were actually using Flux, which is kind of a curve out of the stability AI kind of team, Stable Diffusion. Um, Now with ChatGPT, our conclusion is that their model is way ahead, especially in terms of prompt adherence, and being able to give a prompt like, "Hey, here's my NFT. Can you turn that into a jersey, or can you turn that into like a very cool sneaker?" And here's three. Like ChatGPT does a very good job at that. So I think we will move. Actually, I confirm we will move to ChatGPT's kind of image generation model the second the API is open, which is always kind of the issue. So for now, ChatGPT for us is kind of a great haha moment. I think it's amazing that many people start to understand that they can create amazing stuff, with like a prompt, and they can to design. like the technical barriers to self-expression are just gone at this stage. So taste is really kind of the defining element of in the products you can actually create. So I think it's extremely bullish. It's very aligned with a growth tactic we are looking to launch very soon that we call like drip threads, which is going to be like a merger between kind of Clanker and Midjourney, where people can actually prompt an X account that we'll create. So hey, can you create that product with like using that this image as a base and kind of expand from it? And then we're gonna reply with 4 images, and you'll be able to like launch your drip coin right from the thread. And hopefully you can create this thread around like specific NFTs, specific communities, and have a lot of people kind of just launch drip coins in a really fun way. Maybe last parenthesis I would make here is um, launching meme coins. Used to be kind of a loaded thing. When you did it, you were kind of expected to want to profit from it, and there was kind of a load that came with it. We really want to make launching a drip coin something fun, lighthearted. People can launch it. If the community picks it up, great. If it doesn't, then it's fine. It shouldn't be kind of that huge commitment that a meme coin launch actually entails. It should be like a fun initiative to create something new and cool in the world. So that's some a muscle we'll try to develop. And I think ChatGPT and just like the democratization of these tools is going to help us in that direction.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to talk to you about because there has been definitely a rapid proliferation of launch pads like on Digitize. We've talked to quite a few, including Virtuals and Clanker, and obviously there's Pump and then Zora that's kind of moving towards kind of what you're describing, like tokenizing more media types. Not everything needs to go to trade in the billions, right? How do you see kind of where this landscape is going personally and kind of Dripster's role in all of it? Like, is the idea that there will be a lot of drip coins and then maybe one or two will kind of reach a status where it's like so reaches a hype level like almost in traditional fashion and like streetwear as well. And then yeah, curious to get your take there.
So I think token launchpads are great. I think more tokens is great. I kind of said earlier that crypto is like a huge settlement layer, and I think crypto is also an amazing toolkit to build incentive mechanism and just financial primitives like extremely fast. So you can now basically make tradable kind of anything. It's not new. Kind of DeFi summer was kind of a big thing into that, and even like NFTs and just like everything cultural. Really, crypto is a great tool for that. Uh, and now memes have been kind of the poster child of just tokenizing a lot of things and making them like fungible tokens, not NFTs. So I'm not surprised to see many launchpads launch. I'm not surprised to see, for example, Zora did what they did. I think they integrated it in the product extremely well. It's like it's a very intelligent team and they do things well. So I think it was well built and well received. Actually, the community kind of really liked it. Um, so I'm not surprised. I think it's great. I think you're going to have many different flavors of Launchpad. I do think if you ask me to kind of think a bit more kind of critically about what's going on, that meme Launchpads will commoditize a little bit, and the main difference will be the launch pads that have kind of the biggest community win. You kind of already see them compete on price, if you may, with creator rewards, and how much of their fees are they actually going to share with the creators versus like keeping them. Uh, so there's some direction there. For us, I think our value prop is very unique. Again, with the fact that we manufacture products, so that's very different. So we'll see a lot of them. I think it's great. I think it's more choice for user and consumer. And I think it's a very valid and interesting liquidity and capital bootstrapping model for projects. So it's great.
Yeah, so you've done a bunch of great writing about meme coins and how you're thinking about that in the context of Dripster. Specifically, you described the current meme coin market as conditioned by hyper-cyclical trading. You also talked about the future belonging to meme coins that evolve into social currencies. Can you talk a bit more about your thinking on meme coins and how that has driven the roadmap for Dripster?
Yeah. So first of all, meme coins needed to evolve into social currencies. Actually, not my idea. It's Luca, the founder of Pudgy Penguins, that put out a piece on Saturday, I believe, a very good one, where he basically laid out the perspective that meme coins are great to capture attention, which is how actually Alan, the founder of Pump, describes it. So he was on an interview with Bankless, where I think he did extremely well, very insightful. Actually, I didn't know him personally, but I felt he was extremely likable, kind of listening to that interview. But anyhow, the point I'm making is meme coins are a great attention mechanism. So, you're going to bring eyeballs to you, and then the point that Luca is making is great. Now, how can you turn those eyeball into something that's more lasting, that has like longer term value, and that's able to kind of create something that will sustain, through time. I think Luca is like the best guy to make a comment like that. Looking at what he's built in the past, is a really kind of impressive, person to see go. And when I read that piece, he just like rang a bell for me, which was, yeah, I agree, and I think every observer would agree. But it's hard to actually do that, and I think it's hard because it's not only the fault of the project; it's also a a result of the system that's created around that. And that's where I was kind of going with the piece that I shared today. It's meme traders, they develop the muscle of like moving from one trend to the next, and then following one narrative to the other. Because if they don't do that, they're going to get crushed. So they're doing what they have to do to protect kind of their bags. And that's just how the ecosystem has evolved to kind of be. So now you can be a project and try to, sustain traction and interest for your coin. It's going to be very hard to retain, people in your coin, supporting your price and your market cap when things start to slow down a little bit or something else interesting kind of pops up. And then, what do, when that happens? So it's just kind of very hard to sustain hype. This was kind of the base premise for me. And then if hype fades fast, how can you start to build like long-term things? You're really trying to get like in the action right now. And what most of the launchpads are doing right now is they're actually giving more and more of the fees to creators, more and more of the trading fees to creators, which my perspective was that this is great. It's great for creators, but it doesn't solve the issue that the token holders, they'll leave whenever things get like hard.
Yeah.
And then you won't have any volume, so your take rate won't matter much, right? Uh, it even incentivizes you even more to try to stand into the hype right now versus building what's kind of longer term. This was like the whole premise of the piece. And so it pushed us to really reflect and introduce something today that we call the meme holder yield. Let's see if the name prevails, but yeah, I felt at least it was clear. Uh, and really what that does, it incentivizes long-term holding. So if people enter into a coin early on and sustain price action for that coin, then they'll be able to get a share of trading fees. And the higher the market cap milestone, the more people can claim, the share of trading fees. So it's basically kind of a whole new way to reward loyalty and long-term holding. And it creates what we can call like those prices floor, where if the token drops, it won't go to zero because you basically have all those floors, level of resistance in your shareholder base or meme holder base that are basically very well incentivized to maintain kind of price above a specific threshold. So what we're trying to say is, look, we won't give bigger share of profits to the creators necessarily, even though that's great. I think where we're really focusing the issue is trying to make your shareholder base more long term. Maybe last piece again here. I come from like a capital markets world. I worked in investment banking and then in VC, so I've seen a lot of deal. I've worked on IPOs, and something you're always like very aware of is what's your capital and how long term oriented your backers are. And when you're trying to sell an IPO, you go and see the Fidelity of the world, the big pension funds, because they're going to be there, right? And they're going to stay for a pretty kind of long time on your capital. So it's very important, especially for early projects and early projects that start to trade, to have a shareholder base that's long-term incentivized. Like that's really the key, really in capital markets and in meme markets as well. So that's what we're trying to do. Let's see how the world kind of actually reacts, but I think it's very cool.
Like almost flipping it from a creator-centric approach to more holder-centric.
Yeah, like shareholders basically. Yeah.
This has been super insightful and in understanding kind of the product and where you've come from. So would love to know where you're heading. Like what is Dripster going to look like in a year?
There's like a bunch of core features we want to launch. Honestly, we've almost like announced most of them. So, you know, more integration with community Upshare, just being like sure that we can spread rewards across the meme and NFT ecosystem. This is key. Uh, ChatGPT and drip threads just get people to launch more and more drip coins, hopefully through X and then hopefully through Forecaster as well. So just creating those interaction points in the well, social in the social kind of space. Then we need to revamp, a huge amount of our UI. Obviously, something we've learned as well, like building apps, is you ship fast, then you get
Yeah.
market reaction, then you iterate. So we've basically built the UI and everything in like 8 weeks. So there's gonna be some work to be done there, focusing on everything that's like product market fit related first. And then the last piece is everything around the meme holder yield that we're kind of sharing about, and just continuing to iterate and improve the incentive universe around the app that we're building to make sure that people are as aligned as possible. If we do all those four things well, then it's about getting cool creators to launch cool stuff, and it's really the community that will kind of bring it further than that. For us, those are like the four main pieces.
I love it. Let's end with some rapid fire questions. Jonathan, you're one of the most fashionable founders in our portfolio. What's your favorite brand that you personally wear?
Yeah, I would say Upskirt, but it's kind of a boring answer, so I would go with Crocs. I just love my Crocs. They were that
Box,
always
I
fun.
love it. Okay. What drip do you want to see created on Dripster?
A Doodles pair of sneaker.
Ooh, I love that. What's a big fashion faux pas in your opinion?
A brown belt with black shoes. Uh,
But like, what if that's fashionable now? Like, what if that's like part of the look?
Look, I got this idea like put into my head so hard for 5 years when I was into
Yeah,
banking. You
yeah,
need
I
to
feel like
wear matching letters and belt and shoes. You don't wear, a white collar with a colored shirt unless you make 1 mil a year. Like those are all
wow, I haven't
inbricked
thought
in my
about it like
mind.
that. Wow. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on. This has been so much fun. Where can listeners learn more about Dripster and follow you guys?
Yes. So follow us on X, dripster.fun. And then if you're willing to withstand the hits, go on our Telegram, dripster.fun as well. But it's a bit more intense in there. So, start with X. If you really like it, go and join us in the Telegram.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks so much. I loved it. Thanks, girls. Take care.
Bye.
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 Thanks for joining us as we chat with Jonathan. It's been interesting to learn more about Dripster and the types of drip coins or products created.
Agreed. It's been awesome to learn more about Dripster's evolution from off script to a physical product launchpad and how that's captivated the attention of creators and communities on chain. Follow us as we chat with more founders building at the intersection of consumer and crypto. Bye.
Bye.